Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. I am your host, Daniel Faust, and we are in the Superhero Battle Room. There is so many buttons to press. We can launch off nukes any day, but that's not what we do in here. We go launch off people's War Hero to Superhero stories. And today we have Kenneth Bradley Jr. in the Superhero Battle Room. He went from Army to producer. I barely got out of Air Force and survived and got to McDonald's. Don't ask me how he did it. That's why we bring him on. He's going to tell us how he did it. So he's going to share his war hero story. He's going to share the wisdom that he has, how he goes over and manages it while he still has a wife in active duty and kids that are way smaller than mine, which I was already overwhelming just seeing photos. So we're going to go over and hear about his life. He's going to share his story, and you got to stay for the wisdom that he's going to go over and drop. So I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to hear his story. Hey, Kenneth, thanks for joining.
What's going on, Dan? Nice to meet you, brother. Again, should I say?
Yes, again. So we'd love for you to go over and share your war hero story. How long were you in the service, when you got out, and how was it? Because everybody's story is just a tad different.
Yeah, sure. I was in from 02 to 18. So what's that, about 16, 17 years, plus or minus. Toward the end, the spirit was willing, man, but the body just kept failing. Ended up having surgery after surgery. And after my second hip surgery, the doctor kind of sat me down and was like, look, guy, we'd love to keep you going, but no hips, no service. So I was left with a choice, man. And I ended up begrudgingly taking the med board and ended up retiring in August 2018 out of Fort Bliss, Texas. So that was a great time. I loved it. I loved every second of it, man. I was all in on the Army Kool-Aid. I think the most interesting part for me was the interaction with the soldiers and building those personal relationships, man, with the troops. That's kind of what I missed the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's like we were just talking on off screen. It's like the stuff in the BS, not worth it, but the relationships that you go over and build is so worth it. So 16 years and getting out, how was it? Because I got out in 2012, and even Air Force, it was semi-okay, but then it went downhill really quick. Did you have a good transition, a bad transition?
It was okay. I don't think it was either good or bad. I will tell you, having my wife active duty at the time helped bridge the gap for us a little bit. So the concern for income was not as high. Plus, we'd done really well with some real estate investing and building our portfolio and our savings. So in case an emergency happened, so we had a pretty soft landing when we got out. I think the most difficult part of the entire transition, like you go through this euphoric phase where you're like, yeah, I'm finally taking the boots off there. I don't have to deal with anybody no more. No PT, blah, 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 blah. And then the first day you're out, you're like, holy hell, I'm out. What do I do? Right. So that was such an interesting part. My wife and I, like I said, we've been married for 10 years. So for the first part of our marriage, it was always in and out, one in, one out. That's why we started having kids so late, because we could never time it. Our deployment rotations were opposite of each other. So as I was coming back, she'd be getting ready to leave, and then vice versa. By the time she got to come back, I was getting ready to leave again. So that was an interesting journey in itself. And then, like I said, come summer of 2018, we're finally looking at each other every day face to face. And that was a completely eye-opening experience, because I realized I'd been married to this woman all these years, and we never spent extended time together. Outside of 2 or 3 weeks of block leave, every now and again you'll get a 30-day block leave PCS. But like literally seeing each other every day, and that was I think out of everything, that was the most difficult transition. Was one, trying to find who I am post-military, and then also getting to know who my wife was as a person, because she'd grown. My wife's an amazing woman, man, and I didn't get a chance while I was in the service to focus on the little things that made her great. So just being able to identify and recognize those things, man, it was difficult in the end, but slowly but surely we found our footing, and we had a newborn, so that was
Mhm.
traumatic. Trying to be daddy daycare, and
Mhm.
it was just a fun time, man. Going through it, it was extremely difficult. It was crazy. But looking back on it, man, I think I was fortunate to be able to experience that, and then knowing that my wife and I, despite our struggles, we were able to pull through.
Yeah, that's amazing in that particular because you can see typically people in service, they either the service divorces them or now they get out and then life goes over and divorces them in a sense that they don't know how to handle life. So actually coming through it is a fantastic thing. So what made you actually transform from war hero to superhero? What made you get involved in helping our community again? Because you were in it for long, for 16 years. Most people would say like, hey, you've done enough. So what you transform from that war hero to superhero?
Yeah, just like everybody else, man. Once you get out, you go to that transition center, and the first thing they say is, okay, now you're a civilian, get a job, right? So I did that. Looked around, hunted a little bit. Thought about doing contracting for a while, but with us having a newborn and my wife's deployment schedule still being not steady, I decided to stay home and look for something local.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I was able to land a job working at the SRRC, which is the In Process Now Processing Center for Fort Bliss.
Mhm.
So it was kind of soldier light. I was still able to kind of interact with soldiers, but also find my footing as a civilian. But
Mhm.
so I did that for about 90 days, man, and it was a real struggle. It was just a real struggle trying to I guess I guess the easiest way to put it is take the uniform off. Like you take it off physically, but you don't
Mhm.
really take that uniform off mentally. And then that's kind of where you have the difficult transition. Like, okay, I can wear the suits and ties, I can wear the khakis, I can dress up, but in my
Yeah.
mind, going to work every day, I'm still, Sergeant First Class Bradley. So, I'm walking
Mhm.
by deficiencies, and I'm like, hey, man, that's wrong, fix that. And then, I'm getting called into the office like, hey, Mr. Bradley, and the cool part
Mhm.
about it, my supervisor, he was a retired guy as well, so he kind of understood the struggles. So
Mhm.
he would always, whenever he'd catch me out of pocket, he would always say Mr. Bradley and emphasize the Mr. Kind of, what I'm
Mhm.
saying, to kind of get my mind back to,
Mhm.
hey, guy, your uniform's off, chill out, relax. So did that for about 90 days, and we were sitting in his office, and I told him, I just looked him in the eye, and I said, man, I can't do this. This doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
It's fun. I enjoyed interacting with the people, but it wasn't fulfilling, man. I felt like I had, a bigger calling. So there we were. We struck out on our own, and the crazy part about it was literally in the middle of a PCS. My wife had just come down on orders. Um,
Wow.
so in addition to me leaving my job, she was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, guess what? We're PCS, and then we got 45 days." I'm like, "Great, 45 days. Let's get everything packed." She was like, "No, I start clearing tomorrow. We have to be there in 45 days." This was right at Thanksgiving. So you
Wow.
got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas. We already had gifts planned. We had family coming in, just
Mhm.
bananas. So overnight, we had to change our entire strategy, our entire outlook. So
Wow.
um, yeah, that was that. Like I said, it was such a looking back on it, it was stressful, but not, I guess, not as catastrophic as I thought it was while I was going through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So no, go ahead. I don't want
No, what I was gonna say is like you went through PCS, get out of the service, job transition, everything else, new kids in the house, and dealing with all that growing up. Wow, it's like that's like huge. And you also became a middle spouse. I know
yeah,
us men usually don't claim that, but like you became a middle spouse, so you're one of the few that are in there because most of the military is still guys. It's about 81%, at least in the Air Force, probably Army closer to 90. So it's a
yeah,
very huge transition. I did it for 6 weeks. I was a stay-at-home dad and then the whole nanny dad and stuff like that. It was rough, especially when you try to connect and then the lady thinks like you're hitting on them and they're like, I'm
yeah,
just trying to connect to kids to
yeah,
connect and have a relationship.
yeah,
And they look at you, they're like, it's
yeah.
like it was a unique transition.
Or the first time you go to a spouse's social, or the neighborhood will have a spouse's meeting and you show up and they're like, oh, we can't really say it's for women only, but yeah, it's for women only. And you're sitting back like, well, all right, that's not, whatever, man. That's always, I always had this great idea, man, and I wanted to put together a forum for like male spouses. Not necessarily an FRG, if you will, but just knowing that the Army, as much as the military and DOD focuses on equality, there's not really a lot of equality. There's still that stigma of spouses being female, service member being male. So when you run across that, or you meet that male military spouse, sometimes those FRGs and those spouses groups and liaisons don't know what to do with them. You could probably log on to any Facebook group for whatever spouses group and try to log in as a male spouse, and you'll get a rejection, and they'll say, oh, well, this is for females only. And say, okay, but it's a spouse group. I'm a spouse, and thankfully for me, I was a retiree. So, but I can only imagine. Can you imagine, a PFC, a PV2 male spouse, 20 years old, married this young lady who decided to serve, don't know his left hand from his right hand, and now he can't get the support because he's a guy? That's just, those are one of the glaring issues that I noticed, man, in my transition that I wanted to kind of recognize and identify. So that's my pet project that I got kind of tucked away that I'm working on.
Well, that's really cool. I might have some connections for you to go help that out. So let's talk about transformation and how, as a superhero, how do you help others to transform? Because that sounds like a future thing you'll help transform, but what's some current things that you're helping others to transform? Because
absolutely,
you became a producer, so we got to talk about that,
Absolutely. So in our projects, I don't know if you guys can see, I started the company KTA Interactive. And basically our premise is connecting everybody. Our main goal, our main mission statement is reconnecting the community service sector with the communities that they serve. And how we do that is we have a couple of projects. One of our signature projects is called Behind the Uniform. And behind the uniform, what we do is we go out and we interview service members, firefighters, LEOs, EMT, spouses as well. And we kind of highlight them in this different space, whereas, yeah, you see these guys in the uniform, but there's so much more than that. When they take off the uniform, they're also your kid's football coach or your kid's soccer coach. They're also the guy that volunteers at the school, so don't get caught up in the stigma or how the media portrays the uniform. Realize and recognize that these guys are integral parts of our community as well. And we try to through that platform, we try to bridge the gap and reconnect and reunite the community service sector with those communities and fray some of those damaged relationships that for whatever reason the climate and the media is causing now.
Wow, that's a huge undertaking to go over and take. And then, you started your own TV show with us for like the first season, and now you're producing another that's coming out. It's like, plus the 2 kids, it's like, that's an absolute amazing. I'm like, we just need to get you a cape. I think we're gonna have to eventually go to cape and just get one. So we'll have to get like a camo version of a cape. I've been thinking about it for a while. So.
I love it, man. You gotta have purpose, man. That's one thing I've learned in retirement. If you don't have purpose, life gets really hard really quick.
So let's go into that a little further. What about 3 superhero tactics? Is that one of your tactics that you learned when you got out of the service, or you share with your fellow service members or clients?
Yeah, actually, I will tell you one thing that really helped me find my way once I got out. I was talking to a counselor down at the VA. And I was telling them how, I had all these grandiose ideas and things that I wanted to get done and how I wanted to help the community. And he was like, great, how are you keeping track of all that stuff? And I was like, oh, well, I got a notebook. He's like, okay, that's a start. And he was like, how's that working? I was like, not really good, because I don't really carry the notebook around or whatever. So him being an old Army guy kind of joked around. He was like, dude, you carry a notebook, a pen and paper on you for 16 years. He was like, that only goes so far. He was like, as a platoon sergeant, what did you use to plan and schedule? I was like, what do you mean? So then he kind of dug into me. He was like, you use training schedules, right? You had a long range calendar, short range calendar. I was like, yeah. He's like, so why wouldn't you use that in your civilian life to help you plan everything? And I was like, well, because it's a training calendar. And he was like, so what's the problem? And I was like, it's exactly like the light bulb came on, and I was like, oh my God, like I had the tools the whole time to organize my life and to get things in track. I just never used it. So literally that day I went out and I bought a 90-day calendar and I set it up in my office just like I would when I was a platoon sergeant. And I wrote in there short range, long range, and white space. And man, I'm telling you, my days transformed overnight. I was so much more productive. I literally wake up every morning, look at my calendar. Okay, boom, I got this, this, and this. I even have it scheduled now because my wife's deployed to Kuwait right now. So I even put on there and I black out white space so that we can have our meetings. So we went from sporadically talking whenever to now we have dedicated times to where it's you and it's her and I, and we sit down in front of the camera and we talk, man. And I'm telling you that alone helped me tremendously. So I guess my superhero tactic would be don't be afraid to use, what you know to be successful. I mean, you have these TTPs that you established your entire military career. Just because you took the uniform off doesn't mean that they're no longer relevant. You just have to learn to adapt them to the new mission. And man, I'm telling you, when that Joker gave me that knowledge, I was off like a rocket ship, man. It was.
That's really cool. So is that the only one that you have, or do you have any more to go and share with our audience?
Let's see. Tactics. Actually, yeah, quite a bit. So another tactic that I use, exercise. I went to the VA and they had this really cool program, man, where they introduced us to some alternative treatments. And one of the things they had was Tai Chi, which was, it's an amazing art. I never knew of it until I went to the VA. But it's a 6-week program. They teach you, it was Tai Chi for rehabilitation. You get all these great resources, man. So in the mornings, instead of sleeping in and drinking my coffee, I would get up and I do Tai Chi out on the porch with the sunrise. And that kind of helps me center and focus, man. So another tactic is routines, getting into your routine. You're used to getting up doing PT anyway. Find something that helps you focus your energy and prepare you for the day. That's another tactic that really helped me kind of center my life and regain purpose and clarity.
And that's really cool because those are just 3 mind blows. Like we do it when we're active. We do it when we're law enforcement. We do it when we're in the GS system, because I'm in the GS system right now. You have those things, but once you get out and venture out and you truly become that civilian and make that, we need to transform. But some of those things that we taken from the military, from the law enforcement world, we need to reinfuse into our transformation. And that's really cool. So I want to thank you for going over and drinking. Thanks for the heart that somebody gave right now. So that's for you. That's not for me.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you.
All hearts and thumbs up should be for our guests, just so you know. So you guys can pass them ones later. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your questions if you have any before we close out. But we want to go uplift Kenneth and what he's going and doing. If you can go over and tell us what you're doing, a little more about if I went to KTA Interactive or on Facebook or on Twitter, what would I go over and find, and how would I plug into your interactive mission?
Boom, absolutely. So KTA Interactive is our homepage. Right there, you'll get a brief overview of everything we got going on. There's a section where it takes you to our nonprofit, which is KTA Cares, which kind of funds the entire Behind the Uniform project. Like I said, that project is one that's near and dear to our heart. We're partnered with veterans organizations throughout the Southeast, where we go out and we interview these guys, kind of like a docu-series, if you will. And we kind of put that out. We've gotten some interest from local stations like PBS. The local Fox station here in Columbia has taken interest. These guys want to take it and they want to put it on the show because they see the good work that we're doing, and they realize that the community needs to be reintroduced to their community servants. You can also find the latest projects that we're working on for the for-profit side. We just finished up this great project. Name that I cannot disclose because I signed an NDA on my own project, but it's a really great really great sitcom that's getting ready to come out. We're looking to release that fall season 2021. So yes, we're looking at August 2021 to release the episodes. It's a really great concept, lots of twists and turns. just getting out and finding myself, man. We got projects. I just finished up the 10-minute stories project with Easy Way, which was an amazing, phenomenal story. I met so many great people over there. So I'm looking to maybe do some projects with those guys down the road as well. Just a great year, man, in being a creative and getting your ideas out. We also have this fellowship program, man. Okay, so I got to tell you. So this fellowship program, what we do is we take veterans, spouses, entrepreneurs, fellow creatives, aspiring filmmakers, and we partner them with people who are already in the entertainment industry, which is phenomenal. We found a nonprofit that helps us pair everybody. So let's say that you're an aspiring filmmaker, you don't know where to start, you're a veteran filmmaker, you have no education, no formal training or whatever. So what we do is we connect you with somebody in the industry, or with the filmmaker in your region that kind of helps you and bring you along and show you the ropes at no cost to you to help you get started, which is a phenomenal program, man. What I've found out in my year of interviewing, veterans and law enforcement guys, you have to be in a special kind of mental space to do that kind of stuff. And a byproduct of that is you have some pretty creative stories that you have pent up inside of you. So what I learned in talking to all these veterans and stuff, man, is they have some great stories that will look amazing on film, or will create some amazing stories as sitcoms or just documentaries or whatever, but they have no outlet for them. They have nowhere to put them out. So we stepped in and we decided to fill that void through our KTA Cares project by connecting those creatives with guys in the industry and helping those guys find their footing so that we can get some of these veteran stories told. I mean, God knows I love the World War II veterans, man, but if I see another World War II movie, I'm gonna shit my pants, right? Like there's a 60-year gap of veterans that have stories that aren't being told. And we'd be remiss if we don't get those stories, man, before they perish. So one of the main projects the KTA Cares has is pairing those aspiring filmmakers, those aspiring creatives, those musicians, pairing them with people who are in the industry, who have that experience, who's already cut their teeth on the ground, doing the legwork, and getting those guys paired up so that they can, get a leg up and be able to perform, or at least get their stories heard.
That's really huge in that particular regard, and it looks like you're hitting everywhere. You're producing an easy way, helping veterans in their transformation and going over and getting shows. He's going to be launching with us on Simul TV, which will be broadcasted across the world. Waiting for that sitcom to come out. I mean, I can't wait to hear the beginning of it, the end. Maybe when you get closer,
absolutely,
get more details. So, but if you want to hear more about that later on and get Kenneth back on the show, because we go over and do interviews only once a month on our podcast. So you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on Twitch, you're watching on Periscope, you're watching on I'm not there yet. YouTube, Instagram, I'm kind of cool, but I'm not there yet. But we're in 5 different platforms and also on Podopolo. So the dynamic interactive podcasting app. Man, that's what happens in a live. You study some time. It's okay. That's why we do a digital TV show. So if you like Kenneth's information, you love his content, you love watching him, and you want him to get on our digital TV show, War Hero to Superhero, we up the level, we go a little deeper. We might scare him a little bit with some of the questions we go over and ask. But all you have to do is, if you're like, hey, I watched it and it was mouthed and I went like this, but I didn't click the button. All you have to do is click the video for 3 seconds. You might not like my voice. You might love Kenneth's voice. You might go over and think, what is this guy in this flannel shirt talking about? But I like Kenneth. Click it for 3 seconds in the next 3 days. And if he gets the most views, he gets uplifted to the TV show for free to go over and uplift his brand, uplift his stories, and go help you uplift your brand and your stories. So Kenneth, the ball is in your court. We shared it. We streamed it live. Now it's you to make it go viral. So I'm recommending 10K. That's my goal for you. So I would love for you to hit that. I think 4.1K is the most I've had on Facebook cumulatively in 3 days.
10K too easy. 10K too easy.
All right, 10K too easy. So Chef Brian Jacobs is my highest one. So I would love that. I've had, I think, about 100 shares. So I would say 200 shares and 10K. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to challenge you to get there. So
you got it.
Your thumb might go numb, but I'll be happy. So we want to give you the last parting shot because it is your show. So you have any other wisdom you want to drop before we close out this episode?
Yeah, absolutely, man. One thing that I take with me, man, and I always keep with me. Every day is a new opportunity to do something great. Um, don't let your fears stop you. Don't let your concerns, don't let your disabilities hold you back. If you have a passion, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, it doesn't matter how many people are doing it. It doesn't matter how many times you've seen it. Go do it, because nobody can do it like you. Nobody sees it like you. Nobody hears it like you. You're special. You're unique. People, the world needs to hear your voice. And that's all I got to say, man.
That's huge. That's huge. So we want to thank you for going to join us, Kenneth. For the people that are going to watching, the heart's going to get transferred to you, and we will check you guys in the next episode of War Hero to Superhero. So you guys have a great day, and going over and take those 3 seconds to go over and watch. Again, it's only 3 seconds. Get all 26 minutes, but if you don't have it, 3 seconds, see Kenneth smiling, see my weird chin, and just go with it. We're going to have fun with that. So we're going to close out another episode of War Hero Superhero.